I searched on Google international dentist jobs that require a U.S. license. And that is how we found this job in Saipan. Saipan is part of the Northern Mariana Islands. The Northern Mariana Islands are a chain of 14 islands. Saipan is the largest island, and there are 3 really populous islands of the 14.
Hello, it's Emily Bron, host of the Age of Reinvention podcast. Today, I have an exceptional guest from an extraordinary place. The guest name is Vicki Holman, and she's speaking with me now. The place she lives in is unusual. I took even Wikipedia and some time to look at the map to learn about the history of this place. The place name is Northern Mariana Islands, a tropical paradise located in the Pacific. We will speak a lot about this place today because I want to learn more, and I believe other people as well. First of all, let me introduce Vicki Holman. Vicki Holman, a seasoned consultant with a wealth of experience in business and cash flow optimization. Her journey of international relocation and downsizing, which began 9 months ago, has given her unique perspective, shaped her love of travel and adventure. Along this journey, Vicki launched the new business and developed the Palm pricing model, a revolutionary approach that helps service-based business owners set profitable prices based on data-driven analysis. This is not just interesting, it's groundbreaking. But what truly set Vicki apart, it's her dedication to helping others achieve financial success. Vicki is committed to sharing her knowledge and insights with entrepreneurs seeking to enhance their financial management practices. Embarking on her new life chapter in the Northern Mariana Islands is a story that will inspire and captivate you. Vicki Holman's journey from the heart of Kansas, USA, to embracing a new and vibrant lifestyle in the Northern Mariana Islands is a testament to the power of change and resilience. Together with her dentist husband, Vicki has become a part of multinational expat community, adding a new dimension to her life. This transition, which Vicki describes as a move from financial mastery to life coaching, is also testament to her resilience and adaptability. It's a story that is sure to captivate and inspire. This beautiful island backdrop is an exciting experiment and story to share. Let's dive into some questions covering professional shifts and breezy islands living. Vicki moving from Kansas to Northern Mariana Islands is a huge deal, and it's really inspired a bold move. How has this transition influenced your approach to life, and how has it actually happened?
Thank you, Emily, for having me. I love this story. I love my story because it really is a story of evolution for me and for my life. And so let me take you back to Kansas. In 2010, my husband was graduating from dental school. You mentioned that he was a dentist. And I was graduating from business school. I had got my business degree in finance. And we were at a crossroads at that point. We were trying to decide what we wanted to do, where he wanted to go to work. He was perfectly happy with going to work for somebody else. But I'm the daughter of a serial entrepreneur, and so I wanted to tap my hand at building a business. And so I told him, no, let's build a practice and let's do it together. And he said, well, I don't even know how to be a dentist. And so if we're going to do a practice, you have to do everything but the dentistry. And I said, okay, I can do it. Let's do it. So we built a practice from the ground up. And what I mean by that is we built a building before we even started. And so it was literally from the ground up. And we ended up selling that practice in 2021, and we had built it to a multi-million-dollar business. And then we did move back to our home state of Utah for a couple of years before we moved to Saipan, which is in the Northern Mariana Islands. And that move to Utah was pivotal because what we thought would be a transition to our new way of life and closer to home and by family, it ended up having all of the doors shut in our face. My husband went through 3 different jobs. It's really hard to go from an entrepreneur to working for somebody else. I was coaching, Cashflow coaching for another coach, and that door closed, that part of my life ended. And we came to a point, it was January, February of 2023, where what we thought was going to be our future just wasn't working out. And so we had to ask ourselves, what do we want to do? How do we want to live our lives? Now, my youngest son was getting ready to graduate from high school. He was graduating in May. I don't have any grandkids. I have 2 other adult children who are either in college or in full-time job. They're settled into their life. And we had a choice. What do we want to do? Now, my husband was in the Army, and we lived in Germany when we were first married. So we had lived internationally before. And it was our dream to always be able to live internationally again. But we never thought we could make it happen. So I just remember that phone call so well. And I say phone call because my husband, again, I said he had been working in 3 jobs. He was in California. I was in southern Utah with my son. We were on the phone, and he just had another contract fall through. And he's, what are we going to do? And I said, what do we want to do? Like, we could literally do whatever we want. What's our dream? And he's like, well, he kind of hem-hawed around it. I just said, I would love to live internationally again. And he's, oh, yeah. Do you think we could do that? And I'm like, I think we could. Like, why not? Why not give it a shot? And so we just said, what do we want to do? And so I searched on Google international dentist jobs that require a U.S. license. And that is how we found this job in Saipan. Saipan is part of the Northern Mariana Islands. The Northern Mariana Islands are a chain of 14 islands. Saipan is the largest island. And there are 3 really populous islands of the 14. And so, yeah, I had to Google it. I had to Google where Saipan was. So if you were looking at a map, or if you're flying, it's a 3-hour flight south of Japan. And we're about 120 miles north of Guam. So a lot of people know those 2 landmarks to give you an idea of where Saipan is.
But how far away the flight from US, from your home state? How far away it is?
So you have to plan. It takes it's like 24 hours of travel time. But with layovers, you plan 2 days going. But because of the way with the international dateline, but when you're traveling from Saipan back to the US, a lot of times you get back the same day, and sometimes you get back before you left. So it's a little weird. I can leave Japan on like Wednesday at 6 p.m. and I can arrive back in Salt Lake City at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. So I get back before I left.
Amazing story. And I believe that you made many discoveries on this island. I mean, from the lifestyle perspective and people perspective. And I'm very interested, to know how you integrated, if it's happened. I believe so, but I know it's a process. And I don't know for how long you're planning to be there, but I understand that you didn't know anyone before you landed at this island. You didn't have any friends or even people who might advise something. What was your journey of adjusting and finding new community, building new connections in this paradise island?
Great question. So a lot of people don't know that the Northern Mariana Islands are actually a commonwealth of the United States. And so that helped the transition a little bit because English is the official language. They use the US dollar for currency, and we follow the IRS tax guidelines too. And so even though it is definitely its own country, it does have a lot of similarities with the United States. And so finding a community, my husband got a job with the hospital here. So he did have some contacts with his job. And I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so I found the local church congregation there, and I was able to integrate into that community really well. And so between those two just entry points, it was very helpful in finding our community. And it's just been growing. My husband has joined a sailing club where he found a lot of people. There's hiking groups where he went on a hike just this last weekend, and it's all on Facebook. There were just some community access points there too. And so really, if you don't have a job or a church community, there are other activities. I also know there's like a trivia group that people meet. And so there's a lot of entry points into communities. You just find something you like, and you can probably find that group on Facebook, and they're very welcome and opening here. There are not a lot of expat, but there's an expat community where people are meeting new people and very welcoming. It's not at all a closed culture. The local people here are either called Chamorros or Carolinians, and it's a type of islander, and so they do have their own unique culture. But I don't think I've found an unhappy, unwelcoming, unkind person here. It is a very beautiful place to live.
So people are welcoming, and they speak English as well?
Yes. Yeah, so it is quite a conglomerate of cultures. Like I said, there's the Chamorros and the Carolinians, but there are a lot of Filipinos, a lot of Koreans, a lot of Japanese and Chinese. There is a small U.S. community, but it is very small. People from the United States are the minority, but it is a beautiful, welcoming culture here.
Really nice to learn and hear. It really looks like your special environment. But I'm thinking, with what you mentioned, with all this, it's a huge leap. It's a big change, because thinking about you, from managing a dental practice back in the United States to changing to island lifestyle, it's a big transition. But you not only just transition as part of the family. As far as I know, you created your own business and you started to develop your previous dreams, I believe, and interests. Please tell me a little bit about this part.
Yes. Okay. So it did start back in Kansas with the dental office. In 2020, we were blessed to have the best year of our lives. I know 2020 was a really difficult year for a lot of people, but we had the best year of our whole dental practice life. And it all changed on a very cold and windy November day in 2020 when I went to meet with my accountant. And I had been working with my accountant for over 10 years. So we had a really good working relationship. And even though a lot of times I could do a conversation with her on the phone, I would choose to drive an hour away just so I could sit and visit with her. And so I had chosen to visit with her and do our tax planning for the year. And I just remember that when I walked in, I could tell something was off because she wouldn't look me in the eye. And so I sat down, and we're usually pretty friendly. And she just sat there working on her computer. And I'm like getting this sick feeling in my stomach, wondering what is going on. And she finally looked up and said, "The good news is it looks like you've had a great year." Everybody knows that if it starts with the good news, there's got to be bad news. And so I said, "Yeah, we did. What's the bad news?" And she then proceeded to tell me about a 6-figure estimated tax bill that she had calculated that we would be owing. Now, I knew at that point that there was no way I was going to be able to afford or to have that cash that I needed to pay the taxes. And I was really upset with myself because I thought I had done what I was supposed to do when you get extra cash. I had paid off debts. I had put a little in savings. Yes, we had spent a little more. But I knew at that moment that I had to come up with a better way to manage cash in any business. And so that became my purpose. I started looking into cash flow management. I found a couple and worked for a couple of different cash flow coaches and finding what their philosophy was. And after I finished working for the last one, it was also in 2020 into 2022 where I had to decide what I wanted to do about the same time we were getting ready to move internationally. And I decided I wanted to do my own cash flow coaching because I had learned from the two people I had worked with, but I also had a different philosophy. And I really wanted to create something that I felt could serve the needs of other service-based business owners. And so I've been cash flow coaching since we moved here. And I just do it online, remotely. I've created, like you mentioned, the Palm. It's actually the Palm cash flow system. And there's the Palm pricing method in that cash flow system. And it is a 9-step system where a lot of people only think that cash flow management is how you deal with the money as it comes into your business. And I feel like cash flow management starts all the way from profitable pricing, understanding financial foundations, understanding the mindset, all the way to the cash flow management and then the forecasting and the tax strategies, like all of the things. So that's how I started cash flow managing. It was out of a need that I needed, and then just creating and developing and working with other clients and businesses and figuring out how I can help them manage their cash flow also.
But it's real entrepreneurial spirit, like you demonstrated, and in short time to develop your own method. I believe you had like formal education in financial field or accounting before you started your work as a dental office manager. Yes, you just elaborated and all these experiences plus new techniques you learn. Yes, and I don't want to go to the details, but tell me please, your system is good for any type of business or are there specifics?
So specifically, it's for service-based business owners who have control over their pricing, which means if you don't have control would be like if you're a commission-based business owner or you're tied to an insurance fee schedule. It's more the coaches, the consultants, even the electricians, the barbers, the massage therapists, the therapists, people who it's that labor factor or trying to quantify how much your time is worth, and it's not just based on products. I have helped multiple product-based businesses also with their pricing, but my sweet spot are service-based business owners who have control over their pricing.
Very interesting, and I believe we need to have maybe separate conversation for people who would be interested in this type of services. But today we're speaking about your story, about your relocation and adjustment to the new environment you became part of. And I'm still thinking how you manage to balance work and online work, and I understand business development and being a new place, with temptation of island's delights.
Sure.
You balance your professional life with nice places, as you mentioned before, as we spoke, beaches and all this.
Yeah, so the beauty of owning your own business is that you can set your own schedule. Now, I'll be honest with you, the first probably 2 to 3 weeks I was on island, it was rough. It was rough. I didn't think it would be so rough because we had moved multiple times. Like I was used to moving, but just getting used to the culture and the different, like we don't have a Walmart here. And you have to go to multiple different stores to get what you would get at one trip in Walmart. There are a lot of different cultures here, like I had mentioned. They do speak English, but a lot of them have very strong accents. And so I had to learn how to listen to the English and the accents. And I just remember I am a huge Diet Mountain Dew fan. They do not have Diet Mountain Dew on this island. And so that almost put me in a complete meltdown. It's just the little things. It's almost ridiculous that I say that, but it's finding substitutions and being willing to be uncomfortable. I think that even as a business owner, as somebody who lives internationally, who is someone who loves to travel, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable and try new things and find, maybe you fail at something or you just keep trying and finding substitutions. So I'm back on Diet Coke instead of Diet Mountain Dew, and I drink a lot more water. They have great different water flavors here that I'd never had. If you can't even believe that. There is a Korean brand of water that I now is my go-to drink. And so it's just being willing to adapt. And then to further answer your question, the time zone, most of my clients are in the United States. And so I'm really able to work in the morning because it's evening or the end of the day in the United States, work in the morning, and then have the rest of the day to myself. And I actually love the time difference because I have this short window of time where I feel like I can take care of my responsibilities in the United States, talk to my children, talk to my parents, and then they're in bed. And so I get to go to the beach and not worry about obligations in that way. And so I do feel like living here has created more of a time freedom. One, because of the time zone differences, but also really owning my own business and being able to manage that. Now, my husband works for the hospital. He has set hours, but a lot of times he's done early. Things are just at a slower pace here. He comes home early to go to the beach most days, and we're able to watch the sunset on the beach almost every single day.
Fantastic. Really fantastic. And tell a little bit more about your husband's work. And you really entertain me how he get to work. It's not usual our traffic jam condition we used to North America, how he get to his work.
Yeah, so the island is not large. You can travel all the way around the island in about 45 minutes. And so we simplified our life. We actually share a car. And so if I don't need the car, then he goes to work in the morning. It takes him about 15 minutes to get there. He goes up and over the hill in the island, and he has the most amazing view. It's one of my favorite drives. Every single morning, he starts his day by overlooking our beautiful reef system and the beautiful blue water. And then typically he will come home at lunch, and we'll either eat lunch here, go grab lunch together, and then I'll take him back and I'll take the car for the afternoon, and then I'll just go pick him up. We don't have the obligations on our time like a lot of people do in the United States and in other places where we intentionally simplified our life. And it is a beautiful life.
I remember you mentioned that he's flying to work to different islands. It's what I was, and I was thinking it's a personal jet, or what about flying to work every day, Becky?
Okay, now I know what you're talking about. So once a month, like I had mentioned earlier, there are 3 islands that are inhabited. Once a month, he does fly to another island, and he stays for usually 3 to 4 days. And so I will take him to the airport. He will fly over, and then he stays overnight there. The hospital puts him up in a hotel room. He stays 2 or 3 nights, and then he flies back. And he does that once a month. And he goes to 2 different islands. And so once a month he goes to Tinian, and then about every other month he goes to Rota. And so on those months he'll be traveling 2 weeks out of the 4. So yeah, now I understand. Yeah, he takes this little commuter plane. It's a tiny one engine jet, and I have gone with him before, but I'll be honest with you, it's terrifying. The flight is short, but it's just such a small jet or small plane. It's not a jet, a small plane, and it's a 10-minute flight because the island's only 5 miles away, but they don't have any ferry service. So he does go to Tinian once a month.
But I believe you've had the opportunity already to travel in a region. Yes, you mentioned Japan. Or what else you managed to discover this?
I love living here because it is a perfect jumping off spot to travel Southeast Asia or any part of the world. So we have already gone to Japan twice. I went and saw the Taylor Swift concert in Tokyo. That was amazing. I've already gone to Korea and this year. And then actually next week, we are going to New Zealand. So it's not a quick trip, but we take a very short flight to Korea. And then from Korea, we're able to catch a lot of different flights. And it is so economical to travel from here. It's the most expensive part is if you ever have to go home, you have to use a US carrier for at least one of the legs. And that's when it gets expensive. But if you're going here, staying in Southeast Asia or going on any part of this world, there's so many places you can go for very affordable prices.
Excellent, excellent news. I'm happy for you. And tell please a little bit more about Ireland, its climate, what is growing about, what is the city, like how big it is, like how it looks like.
Sure. So the island is about 43 square miles, and it is, like I said, it's amazing. It has where the property that I live on has on my balcony, right outside my balcony, there is a huge avocado tree, and it has the best avocados. I love avocados, but this brand, or not brand, but this type of avocado is just absolutely amazing. And then right next to that tree is the Filipino tree they call, and I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it is the most amazing smelling flower that I've ever smelled. So I just walk outside my door and there's these avocados and this beautiful smell. And then on my back porch, they have tangerines is what they call them, but they're green. So they're different than what anybody in the United States have ever seen. And you eat them when they're green. If they're yellow, they're too old. You don't want to eat them. And then we've got lemons off the back deck. Of course, we're surrounded by coconuts. As you walk down my driveway, we have banana trees and papayas and dragon fruit. And the landlord has planted orchids. And now I can't think of what the name, hibiscus. Oh, we have there are 4 hibiscus bushes. The plumerias, like we have all of the things. It really is idyllic. And you really can just go pick them. Like my landlord says, we can just go pick whatever we want. And the fruit here is just so amazing. And that's the same with all of the island. And I'm trying to think, there's mangoes, there's lots of different mangoes, and then other varieties of fruit that I can't think of to name right now.
And climate is good, like all year round?
Oh, yes.
No typhoons, no natural disasters?
So we do have typhoons, unfortunately, but we are living on a tropical island, and so we have to be aware. But they've really learned a lot from the typhoons. And they were hit several years ago with a pretty big typhoon. And since then, they've made adjustments and upgrades to the buildings to where when we had 2 typhoons this year, they were on the smaller side, but basically everything shut down. Everyone just went back and went to their homes and got prepared. I was in the United States during the last one, and my husband said the power went out for an hour and then it was back, and it wasn't just a lot of rain. So you just prepare for them. Climate-wise, the weather is the most beautiful weather in the world. It says it's the most steady temperature of anywhere else in the world. So it is an average of 85 degrees year round. And so that, of course, that means it goes up a little bit over 85 and a little below 85, but it's usually sunny and 85 here. And it really is just amazing.
How tourism is developed on these islands? Do you have often, I don't know, cruise ships coming or maybe some other tour?
Yeah, so tourism was really big here before COVID. And it's surprising, though, because it's Korean and Japanese tourists, because it is just a really short flight. So we have a lot of tourists, but they are Korean and Japanese, although the cruise ships are starting to come back, but we don't have very many. I think we've had maybe 4 or 5 this year so far. One of those cruise ships was an around the world cruise from an American cruise line. And so that was nice to get just a little bit more tourism coming in, because once people visit this island, it usually becomes a place that they want to come back to, and maybe not on a cruise. And so tourism is really big. It is one of the leading economies. But if you look overall, it's not a very large portion. So we're not getting hundreds of thousands of tourists here. I think I saw the number we had a total of 20,000 tourists last year. And so it's not a lot, but it is a driving factor in the economy. And so they are doing a lot of improvements to attract more tourists. I've noticed even since I've been here that one of our favorite beaches is called Wing Beach. And when we would go to Wing Beach, as we drove down, the plants and the trees were just all over the road. And since we've been coming, they've cleaned it up. They're really cleaning up the beaches. They're trying to get tourists to come back because it really is an amazing place to be.
It is on my list already. I hope I will manage it. Yes, and I know that island life, with all its beauty, has some specifics. After time, to live on an island, isolated from big mainland, and every place has its own set of teachings. What are some unexpected lessons you've learned from living this island life, and how they shaped your outlook on the life?
So I love this question so much, because if I think about what lessons I've learned, I think about how sheltered I was in the United States and how truly blessed I am for being there, and the quality of living and the different cultures. If you look at the cultures here, the wages, if you were to look here, coming from the United States to Saipan, the wages are lower. Now, like I mentioned, we use the U.S. tax system, and so they have a really low federal tax rate. I believe it's about 9% or less, and so you can have a lower wage and still come out with a higher income because you're not paying as much in taxes. But with that lower wage coming from America, a lot of people coming from the Philippines and Korea and China, the wages are extremely high. And just knowing that is their reality, and they are so excited to be here because they are being paid U.S. wages, and they're sending money home, and the struggles that they have. It also helps me appreciate the different cultures. And like I mentioned earlier, you have to go to multiple stores to get certain things. And the stores here, I can't even describe how many different little stores there are. And when I say stores, I mostly like grocery stores, but each one is got a different theme, or either they're owned by Koreans or owned by Filipinos or owned by Chinese. They have different items in stock, and it is geared towards their culture. And so I love going to different stores and just seeing what they have and really broadening my view of the world and of humanity. And I think another thing is the kindness and the island lifestyle, which really is laid back. Most of the time, people are not in a hurry. I actually never hear anybody honk their horns at another car. I did hear one the other day, and it was the first time in 9 months that somebody was in a hurry and they wanted somebody else to get out of the way. And I just looked at my husband and I'm like, they must not be from here. They must be a tourist. But it really is. People are focused on living day to day. They're not focused on having all of the material possessions. They're just trying to survive. They're focused on family. A lot of times at the beach, you will see they spend their nights at the beach barbecuing and just being with the people that they love, and just really helping me focus on what's important and building those relationships with both the people that are here in my new community and back home, and taking the time, because I'm not worried about getting the newest iPhone or the newest thing from the store, that you can really focus on what's important. And
It's very interesting observation, and I'm happy you get to this conclusion, because I know from my personal experience living from different countries, some people in North America just don't appreciate because they cannot compare it. Without experience, it's hard to appreciate whatever we have here. And my next question connected, how this immersing yourself in new culture and international community impacted your professional practices, especially in finance coaching, mindset shifting? How it influenced you?
Yeah, I think it's really made me appreciate what's important and really helping a big part of finance coaching. A lot of people have a lot of money blocks. They have a difficult time talking about money, or they're embarrassed, or they think that money is hard, or they've got a bad money story. And it's just being open to new ideas and new things and being willing to explore, being willing to be uncomfortable. I think that is part living in a new place, but then also looking at your money, the travel that we've done. I purposely try to be uncomfortable every single day, and it allows for growth, to where I think in the United States, we do so many things for comfort or convenience or to make it easier. For example, we don't have a dishwasher here. We don't have a microwave. Those are all convenience items that we have had to adapt and figure out, okay, how are we going to heat up food if we don't have a microwave? Oh, I guess we're going to wash our dishes by hand. But being able to just do those things, it takes a little bit longer to do those things, but by taking longer, it allows us to slow down and focus on really what's important. And that has definitely gone into my business as well. Before, in my business, I would say, okay, here are the 9 steps that we're going to go through, and we're going to do them in order. But now it's what's most important to you. Let's tackle that first, and then we can talk about the other items. And really just focusing on what's important to you. And a lot of times it is getting your time back. That's why business owners have their own business a lot of times. They want to be in charge of their time. They want to be in charge of their finances. They want to be in charge of their location. And I'm able to accomplish all 3 of those by doing what I'm doing here in Saipan.
Amazing. Thank you. And I believe people who want to work remotely and people who are looking for financial advice would really value your experience, financial one, and life perspective, because it all come together hand in hand. And here I would ask you about piece of advice for potential expats, and not to this island. Some people are for a long time, and somebody maybe less, considering relocation, thinking about relocation. And specifically when you are, say, after 50 in midlife, completely not easy adventure, I would say, because you are uprooting yourself from your place of living, from your family, from your children, from life you were so comfortable probably to live for many years. But your story proved to me again that with courage and this adventurous spirit and attitude, you can bring your life on the different level. But with all this, like what you would give advice to others considering such a leap to international relocation for a fresh career or lifestyle start?
Yeah, I would have to say, number 1, be willing to be uncomfortable, but 2, go after your dreams. I think so often it is so easy to come up with all of the excuses as to why it won't work or to why I can't do this. But if there is that desire, if there is that smoldering always in the back of your head, oh, I wish I could, instead of looking for the reasons why you can't, look for the reasons why you can. Look for the ways to make it possible. And like I mentioned, for us, it's I need to go back and travel back to the States a little more often than maybe most of people, so that I can feel that connection with my kids and that they have that connection with me. But it was something that I was willing to explore. And so find the reasons how you can make it work instead of always relying on your excuses of why you can't.
Great advice. And maybe something else. I'm just thinking, yes, in your case, even it was really new almost unknown place, not so popular place as people know about moving to Europe or even to Latin America. Maybe some specifics that people need to consider when they're moving to Asia, to this part of the world, what you would say?
Yeah. So luckily with Saipan, I was able to find a website that was specific to moving to Saipan, and it was geared towards the doctors at the hospital. And so that was very helpful. But I think it's being open to the possibilities and being uncomfortable. Make sure you understand the work requirements. Are you required to get a visa? What do you need to do so that you are legal? Don't do anything illegal. Try to be legal as possible. Look at the tax implications, specifically if you're coming from the United States. Understand what the tax implications are, because there are a lot of tax implications depending on what country that you are going to be working in. A lot of people think that, oh, they live in a different country, they don't have to pay taxes. That's not true. So make sure you talk to somebody who specifies in expat taxes so that you won't be shocked. Having a tax shock is never a good thing. And then just making sure that you do either have a job lined up or that you are working remotely, or that you have some good leads, because having a job makes all the difference. We had that stability already in place. That's the one thing that I did have in place before we decided to up and move. And a lot of times you can get a job before you ever visit. So the first time we ever visited, my husband came over 2 weeks before I did. He was starting, I think he landed on a Saturday. He started work on Monday. And at that time, we didn't have a place to live. We didn't have a car. He had rented an Airbnb for a couple of weeks. And then he just had that plan. Like, he had a plan in place. He just had to be on island to be able to implement it.
By the way, do you have people who are relocating for retirement? Because it's an idyllic place to retire. I just don't know, like, financially in what rate and grade expenses, how likely it's expenses, but do you have this retirement community?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there are a lot of people who, and I don't think I answered this before, but my husband has a 2-year contract with the hospital, and we're 9 months into that 2-year contract. And so when that 2-year contract comes up, we'll have to decide what we want to do. Right now, we are planning on staying, and there would be no reason for us not to stay. And a lot of the Americans, especially that live here, have done the same thing, where they came over for a 1 or 2 year contract and then they just ended up staying, or they left and then they came back to retire here, because you can find places that are very affordable with beautiful. We're getting ready to move to a different apartment, and it's not even an apartment. We're moving to rent a house this week that has ocean views, and the rent is cheaper than what we're paying now. And so it's just being on island, getting those connections and knowing, because a lot of people don't advertise. And so you just have to get into the different networks. And the longer you're here, the bigger your network, and then the more resources that you have access to.
Okay, so it's nice to know retirement community growing. And I'm afraid even that after listening us, maybe more and more people will flock to the island.
We need so many. We need retirees. We need professionals. It's a beautiful place to live.
And the question that I usually ask everyone at the end of the interview, what is for you, and what age person became old in your opinion? What is definition of old, and what helps people to be active and young for longer years?
Okay, so that's an interesting question. And so it's so funny to see how my definition of old has changed. I remember when I was just a child and my mom was 30 and she was old. And then I became 30 and went, my mom's 50. I don't think she's quite old anymore. I'm over 50 now. My mom is now up to almost 75. And I still think she's not old. Right now, she is on a cruise to New Zealand and Australia, and she's living her best life. So I think age and being old is just a mindset. It really is. I don't think that you can attach any age to that. I think it's more of a mindset. When you think you're old is when you're old. But I've got the best part of my life ahead of me, and I can't wait. And I can't remember the second part.
It's not about us, definitely. Sorry for asking several questions. What helps people to be active and younger for the long years?
Oh, I think environment, definitely. Like I am definitely more active here. I lived before when we lived briefly in Utah, I lived very near the beautiful Bryce Canyon. And I took my bike out quite often and felt like that was such a great activity to help keep me young. Here, again, we have similar activities. I have taken up paddleboarding. I love snorkeling. I love swimming in the ocean, and I love sitting on the beach. And we have a beach. There's a path that goes along the beach where you can walk for several miles. I try to get on that also. And so I think it's just being active, being physically active, and really the other thing I think that helps you stay young is the practice of gratitude. That I heard a saying that you are never happier than you are grateful. And being grateful for where you are, no matter what your circumstance, will help keep you young.
I will try to remember it, and it's really good listening to you. And I only can add that listening to your stories, that living in good environment, in good climate, with weather which allow you to be active and pursue your hobbies, or maybe even to have new interest and hobbies, and communicating with people. Actually, this probably search for discovery of new life, of new lifestyle, yes, of new culture.
Yes, absolutely.
It's what make or break us. But in case of active people like you, it's really the best recipe to be active for the longer years. So I believe that your Vicky bold transition from the plains of Kansas to the sands and seas of Northern Mariana Islands, all while navigating realms of financial coaching and life coaching, and your amazing experience will serve as an inspiration for many of us contemplating similar life-changing moves. And even not many maybe will pursue the same transition as yours, but thanks again for your stories, for your observation, and for your advices, and all the best to you to continue enjoying your life on the island together with your husband, to explore more of South Pacific and to enjoy your life.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you for having me.
Wrapping up our chat with Vicki Holman. Vicki's adventure into new hobbies, cultures, and embracing a lifestyle amid seas and sands truly shows us the beauty of change. This conversation isn't just stories from afar, it's a nudge for all of us dreaming of a fresh start on new scenery. It's about finding your own path, whether it's in your backyard or across the world. A big cheers to Vicky for sharing her insights and adventures, reminding us that it's never too late for a new chapter. Here's your takeaway. Dreaming of the change? Got questions on where or how to start? Let's talk. Drop us line, share your thoughts, or just say hi, connect with us, subscribe to our podcast. We are here to help make those dreams a reality one step at a time. Until our next journey, keep dreaming big and exploring further. And remember, we are just message away. Catch you soon, adventurers!